this tutorial we're going to be looking at how to craft a drum and bass beat using audio slices in Logic's timeline. To craft your beat, start with an empty project and set the tempo to 170 BPM. To find some suitable drum hits to use, we're plunging the Sinistar VIP series sample bank we gave away with CM180, but you'll also find all the required files for this tutorial in the tutorial files folder. For this example, we're going to use the kick highres.wav file, as this sample has a nice balance of weight and click. Locate the file in your DAW's file browser and drag it into your timeline, placing it onto an audio track on the downbeat of bar 1. Following our 100Hz to 200Hz rule of thumb for drum and bass kicks and snares, we use a standard channel EQ to reinforce the bottom of the kick by 6 dB at 100Hz, with a narrow Q setting of 4.5, so that we're only boosting frequencies close to that value. We remove any really low frequencies that might interfere with our sub-bass by switching in the high-pass filter at 50Hz, and we also put in a -6 dB dip at 200Hz, mirroring the snare, which will stick out at this frequency. Next, we shorten the region and place a copy on the and of beat 3 in the bar, or the 6th, 8th note. Copy both beats and paste them into the same position in the following bar, so that we end up with a 2-bar pattern as shown. Next, we need a snare sample. Locate the file snares.pendu2.wav in the tutorial files folder and drag it from your file browser onto a new audio track in your DAW's timeline. We add a compressor to tighten up the sound using the settings shown, then strap an EQ plugin across it and give it a healthy 4 dB boost around 160 Hz to bolster that all-important 200 Hz punch region. With a high-pass filter also engaged at 100 Hz, copy and paste the regions so that you end up with a snare hit on the 2nd and 4th beat of each bar. Now we have a kick and snare pattern locking down a standard drum and bass groove. We need some high-end energy. This is almost always provided by a loop of some kind, as drum and bass drums originally evolved from the use of sped-up breakbeats. We're adding 2 loops to our part. For the first one, locate the file daisydukes170.wav in the tutorial files folder and import it onto a new audio track at the downbeat of bar 1. The Daisy Dukes loop plays a disjointed cut-up rhythm, the top end of which sits nicely around our kick and snare pattern, but there are a few too many kick drum hits. Combining it with our drums as it is makes for a kick pattern that's way too busy. So we insert an EQ plugin across it to remove the low end, dialing in a low shelf curve with a cut of -24 dB at 180 Hz. This clears things up considerably. Next, we drag the file panchow.wav into our project. This provides the all-important ticking 16th note feel to our part, but it also contains a useful tambourine element. It's another full-range loop though, with plenty going on throughout all frequencies, so again we slot the sound into the beat using EQ, employing a fairly extreme cut of -24 dB at 1 kHz to minimise low-end congestion, while bringing out the tambourine with a boost of +8.5 dB at 8.5 kHz and another high shelf boost of 7.5 dB at 10 kHz. We only really need the first bar of the panchow loop, so we chop it in half and repeat it to fill the space left behind. It also contains a hit on the downbeat of beat 1 and on the offbeat of beat 2 that we don't really need, so using your DAW's scissors tool or similar, simply slice this out of the audio region and delete it. When we then pull the channel fader down to around -6 dB, the remainder of the loop fits nicely around the existing elements of the beat. The whole thing is starting to come together. To round things off, we could do with a ride cymbal part to drive the beat along at the top end. For this sound, we've raided the Stanza VIP series sample pack we gave away with CM186. Import the file rc2.wav into the project and trim the end of the region so that it lasts for exactly half a bar. We create a duplicate track and place alternate copies of the cymbal regions on the two tracks so that they play on every quarter note beat and overlap as shown. This can help to prevent clicking and also a robotic drum machine feel. Lastly, we set the volume between -15 dB and -12 dB to sit the rides in the mix. Try varying the level of either track slightly to give the part more of a dynamic lilt, or use the ride only in certain parts of the track. Now the basic pattern is pretty much there, we can begin to tweak and arrange it a bit. We copy and paste all the regions on all the tracks to turn the 2-bar part into a 4-bar part, then create a slight variation by inserting extra kick drums in bar 3 at 3-2-4-1 and 3-4-3-1, and at the end of bar 4 1/8 note before beat 3 on 4-2-3-1. Then we double up again to 8 bars and add in a couple of extra snare hits to create a fill in bar 8 as shown.
Download over 30 exclusive plugins. Get hundreds of pro-quality samples and power up your production skills with in-depth tutorials. We break it down for you step by step, and you'll see exactly how it's done in expert video guides and producer masterclass sessions with pro producers. Get all this and more with Computer Music Magazine every month on iPad and iPhone, PC and Mac, Android, and in print.